Okay, today I'd like to talk just a little bit about having a fresh perspective. A perspective is just the way you look at something. If any of you have ever played chess uh, and you've been sitting at that board looking at your next move, somebody else that might be observing the game might walk around the table and look at it from a different perspective and see a move that you could make that you won't see from where you're sitting. So I'm hoping that I can just kind of give you a bit of an example of what our perspective on life should be. First of all, I want to go back to about 1971. That's like 40, 50 years ago, and it's hard to believe. I was in the Marine Corps, and I was full of life and did a lot of things that I sort of regret now, but anyway, they're done and they're over with. But while I was in the Marine Corps, God was talking to me, and I actually, in a Baptist church in Memphis, Tennessee, committed my life to the Lord, got baptized in front of a bunch of other Marines, and decided to make Christ the center of my life. It was a gradual process, but it was probably the best move that I ever made. And I have been so blessed in many ways since then. But besides that, the reason that I joined the Marine Corps, at that time, my father was dying of cancer. He was 45 years old, and I was just out of high school. I had no direction, didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided that I'm going to join the Marine Corps and get out of my mom's hair so that she could at least be with my dad for what little time they had remaining. Some point in time during my training, my mom called me up the last week that my dad was alive and said, "You better come home. It's probably going to be the last time you see him." Now, this is before I committed my life to the Lord. And I came home. My dad was laying on his deathbed. Yeah, she did all of this at home. There was no hospice at that time. She basically took care of my dad until the day that he died. And he spent 23 hours a day in a bed in our dining room, a hospital bed, and slept almost most of the time. And I came home on emergency leave. I came home, and it was about, my mom said, we have 24-hour watch for Dad. It's your turn tonight to stay with him. And about 1 o'clock in the morning, I heard my dad call my mother's name, and I got up and walked into the living room. And Dad said, "Son, pick me up and carry me into the living room. I want to talk to you." And I said, "Dad, you're so fragile." He weighed 98 pounds at that time, and when he was healthy, he was over 200. He was 6'2", and he weighed 98 pounds. I said, "Last week, Mom rolled you over in bed and broke a rib, Dad. I really don't think I..." He said, "Pick me up. We got to talk." So I picked him up and carried him into the living room, and we talked for 2 hours. We told each other that we loved each other. And one of the last things I asked him was, "Dad, do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And he said, "Son, I do." And I gave me a peace that knowing that Dad, as tough of a life as he led, he drank, he smoked cigarettes, he basically ruined his health with cigarettes, but he committed his life at the last minute, and I know where he's at. So that perspective is good. But another perspective that I have is that after I committed my life, I tried to find a Christian woman to live with me, marry me, and spend my life with, and I did. And she's a wonderful lady. And we've been together 41 years. But not too long ago, probably 10 years ago or so, we had the opportunity to travel to India. When we went to India, I saw children on garbage piles going through it looking for things to eat. That gave me a perspective I never had before on where we are and who we are in America. We live in a country that, just out of curiosity this morning, I went on Googled how much you have to make worldwide on an annual basis to be one of the wealthiest 1 percentile in the world. The answer that I got back worldwide now is that if you make $32,400 a year, you're in the 1 percentile of the wealthiest people in the world. I thought about that, and I thought about $32,000 a year, a family of 4, you'd be considered almost at poverty level in America. What a contrast. So, now, with that being said, another thing that we have on this earth is time. And time is something that seems like we have an endless supply when we're young, but when you get to be my age, you see just how fast time's gone by. And it's a perspective that I realize that this life is very short. And some people think that when you live here and die, it's over with. You're gone. Nothing else happens. Some people believe in reincarnation. I believe that your body, which is in decay right now, in constant decay, and I look at mine and I see that about 2/3 of my life is gone already. At some point in time, it's going to die and it's going to rot and it's going to decompose and it's going to turn to dust. But there's parts of your body that scientists don't even talk about. 2 of them specifically are your spirit, which God gave you, and your soul, which you have. The soul is who you are, what you do. If you do good things for people, that's coming out of your soul. If it's all about I, me, mine, that's part of your soul too. But your spirit and your soul are eternal. They will not die. They will not pass away. And you have a choice as to where you're going to spend eternity. I've been reading the Bible for 30 years now, and the last 10 or 15 years I try to read through it once a year. And there's so many things in there that just keep me in awe. Couple of just little statistics. The Bible was written by 40 authors, and it took 1,500 years to write. But it is the inspiration of God that He gave this inspiration through men to write for Him. Now, if you doubt that, we also have had an opportunity to go to Israel. And when we traveled to Israel, we saw where somebody was going through caves and found the book of Isaiah. And they are part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And there's a museum over in Israel, and these scrolls are estimated to be like over 2,000 years old. And they're in a museum in Israel, and they translated those scrolls to the Bible that they have today, the scriptures that they have today. And believe it or not, there is no difference. Not a dot, not a tittle, not a comma, not a word has changed in over 2,000 years. Now, I know I played a game in school where the teacher told the first person something, and then they whispered it in somebody else's ear, and we passed it along until it got through about 30 children. What the teacher said was totally different than what the last person heard through the translation. So it is a God-inspired word. All I'm saying is that we have an opportunity in America to do something with our lives, to be nice to our neighbors. One more quick story and then I'm finished. The other day I was out front mowing my lawn, and my next door neighbor has just gone through a bout of throat cancer. And he was pulling into his driveway, and he got out of the car, and we said hi to each other. And he looked at his flower bed, and there were weeds all over the flower bed. And he says, "Oh my." He says, I need to weed my flower bed. And I thought in my mind, as soon as he goes in the house and shuts the door, I'm going to turn the mower off and I'm going to weed his flower bed. Well, it just so happens that he works in the hospital, the local hospital, and runs a heart and lung machine in the hospital. And my daughter works in the hospital as well, and they see each other from time to time. He walked over to my daughter as she was going about her business and said, "Michelle, I want to tell you something." And he had tears in his eyes when he told her that what I had done. I had taken 10 minutes of my time and weeded his flower bed. And that had that kind of an impact on him as a neighbor. He said in his own words to my daughter, "We live in a wonderful neighborhood, and I'm so thankful for neighbors like your dad." We have such an opportunity to make an impact on other people that we live around. So I'm just encouraging you to take some time. Be nice to somebody. If you're in a traffic jam and somebody's trying to get in, just stop and let them in front of you. Be nice. Just do an act of kindness. Weed your neighbor's flower bed. We would live in a much better world if we did that. So, okay, I've said enough. 10 minutes is enough. This is the old timer, and that's my piece of advice today. Thank you. I love you all. Please subscribe to my channel. If you like what you've seen, share it with friends of yours and encourage them to subscribe. And comment. Ask me to talk about things that maybe you're thinking about or things that are on your mind. Okay? Take care, and we'll see you later.